following presentation is for educational purposes only. All of the symbols, trading ideas, and live trading are for demonstrational purposes and are not recommendations or trading advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All of the information and opinions expressed by third-party guests are their own and are not necessarily those of NinjaTrader LLC. Trading futures involve substantial risk and may not be suitable for everyone, and trading futures can result in losses greater than the initial required margin. Traders should only trade futures with risk capital. Risk capital is money that you can afford to lose without jeopardizing your financial security or current lifestyle. You can find additional disclosure information on the NinjaTrader website.
Welcome back to NinjaTrader Live. I'll be your host for this segment. I'm Tom Schneider, CMT with NinjaTrader. In this segment, Traders Workshop, we like to bring in our ecosystem partners. NinjaTrader ecosystem, you can Google it, you can put it into your internet browser, find the ecosystem. And today we are very thrilled to have a first-time guest. I've been able to speak with him a couple times, and it's just every time I speak with him, I learn something new and very exciting. So my pleasure to welcome onto the show for the first time, Michael Lydick, Back to the Future Trading. Michael, how are you?
Tom, I'm really great. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and we're really excited to be part of the NinjaTrader ecosystem. It's such an amazing platform, and we have the best customers, I think, with this platform, and it's great to be able to be here and share what we're doing with others that we haven't spoken with.
Well, a pleasure is mine to have you on here, honestly. When we were connecting and having the calls before the show, I really, truly was impressed with what you've done with NinjaTrader. The great thing about NinjaTrader is, of course, the ability to make it sing, make it dance, if you're so inclined. And you certainly have done that in a way that I've never seen it. So, really excited to have you on and walk through, there's so much there. I think we're not going to get to everything today.
Sure.
But, Jim and I were talking about the meeting after, and it was just, wow, great stuff. So let's start out, though, because your first time on, I'd just love to hear a little bit of your background of, how you got into the markets. Was it through school? Was it through interest before school, during school, after school? What led you to start, Back to the Future trading?
Yeah, I remember the day. It's the best and worst day of my life, and I think any trader that you talk to, anyone who's involved with any form of market analysis will sort of remember that day as, would I go back in time and tell myself to keep walking or flip the channel? Because it really is, it's a journey that you never stop. And I think a lot of your listeners and viewers here today will remember that moment where, they decided to be crazy on purpose. And it isolates you, it separates you from people in the world who think it's gambling and associate or attribute all of these, negative things associated with it. And for me, I was a degreed mechanical engineer. I was working at an automated high-speed machinery company, building mechanisms with 2, 3, 4,000 parts that we'd machine from scratch and build and put together. And I was in an office of one customer checking on some of the new machinery we had developed, and he had a series of offices, ladies doing various clerical work, and off in the corner down the hall was this poor little sad man in an emptied brick office with a 486 computer that had the E-mini S&P chart up on NinjaTrader with a 5-minute chart and a 38% Fibonacci retracement drawn on the move that day, which I think was a big day. It was a $5 move. And I said, hey, why is he being punished? What did he do wrong? It looks like he's, he committed a felony and he's in here doing his penance. And he said, well, he's watching for a 38% retracement on the Fibonacci levels. And I said, what's Fibonacci?
Oh.
And it's sort of, cue the montage now. If you're Michael Bay, there's explosions, there's Autobots and Decepticons and platforms and charts. And what is the golden ratio? And oh my God, there's sunflowers and cyclones and galaxy patterns. And if I just do this, I'll be rich. No.
No.
And it set in motion a journey, right? Everyone listening to this, watching in the future, yourself included, it's a Sudoku puzzle that's never fully solved, that invites you into a Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones epic battle between institutional traders, retail traders, and the Sauron of it all is your brain, which is imbued with millions of neurons designed to self-sabotage your best interests at every point. And it's a Rocky movie, right? The lyrics of the song, it's you versus you. And it's not about the 7-foot Russian in the corner, right?
Well,
And
and Mike, sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're fine.
you know, that idea of what's Fibonacci, right? And discovering that, um, it's kind of like you're part of something bigger, right? Like there's something bigger out there that is worth exploring, is worth finding out about. And maybe you don't follow it to the end, or maybe you don't believe in everything that it says, but just becoming aware that there's a whole world out there that is super dense, and you too can be a part of it. It's really the effort you put in is where you'll get that, what you get out. But you're talking my language. That's kind of what I felt when I was turned on to that. And it is that, let's solve a puzzle. There is that, let's solve a puzzle. You mentioned Sudoku. My brother represented the United States in the World Championships
Oh,
when
good
they
night.
when they did those. So Sudoku has been a part of my family for years.
I
But
just picture your brother at a wine bar, and there's a beautiful woman, and he leans in and says, "I don't know if you know this, but I represented our country in the International Sudoku Championships."
that is
You
not the
say
way.
more.
That's not your typical Sudoku representative. But you're right. It's when you kind of open that door, and on the other side of the door, like you say in movies, it's not a room, it's a whole universe, right? You just have to step through.
You're part of the story, right?
Yep.
There, you go back to 1909, Richard Wyckoff, Ticker and Investment Digest. He's looking at volume, and the father of volume spread analysis. He says markets are predictable if you read the tape. You've got, of course, Elliott, who's equally ethereal and magnanimous and huge, and he believes markets are predictable if you just study structure. And people looking at double tops and double bottoms and head and shoulders patterns don't even know that that's who that was that started it. We align ourselves, if those men are apostles representing religions, our founding father is William Delbert Gann, right? This child of a huge family in Lufkin, Texas, who goes to Wall Street to make his fortune and believes everything you need to know to be profitable is in the Bible. And he's looking at time. And so it's like you said, you have millions of people all over the world that are skinning the cat a million different ways. And that was a mistake we made when we first opened 15 years ago. We thought, we'll just teach everyone how to use this tool the same way. And much like that scene in the movie The Matrix, Agent Smith says, we created a utopia and we lost millions of humans because you all wanted some element of misery in your dystopia, right? We can't assume everyone's going to come at this the same way. Everyone's got a different hardwiring, a different upbringing, different ideas about money and belief systems. And so those three guys, I call them the triumvirate, they create space for things like volume and structure and price action and time. And we happen to fill that niche of people who think, well, maybe timing has something to do with it.
Well, and that's what was very interesting, because when I think of timing, and you mentioned those that came before us, right? The pioneers. you think longer term, right? Because when you go back 100 years, they didn't have all the tools we had. They
No.
were looking at it kind of a bigger view, right? You can read the tape, but you can't put all that data, process that efficiently. Um, but now we do, and so it was really interesting to see what you've done with it.
Yeah, and that's why GAN, I think we've got the giants beat in some ways, right? If you could have lunch with anyone, that question always gets asked. And, everyone gives the appropriate answer about, a religious figure or their grandma. Like, I would really want to meet these guys and sit them down at a table and say, hey, what do you think? What could you do if you had access to NinjaTrader's platform?
Right.
Let me show you some of the code that we can do, some of the things that we can ask it to tell us. When you don't have a quill,
Right.
a
Right.
feather from a duck that you're dipping into some inkwell on some Dickensian table, where he's like, bring me more coal. And he's
Right.
scratching out his square of 9 numbers. Can you just imagine if they had this platform and a programmer and said, do me a favor, let me see what he does if I ask it for this answer? It just kind of boggles my mind to wonder what they would do if they could do what we do.
Right.
So I feel a responsibility in that sense to sort of kind of take what they've told us and then pursue that with excellence. All right. What if this is his formula for time analysis and we turn that loose into a 12,000 line piece of code with database management and we can see signals on the right-hand side of the chart, would he be proud of what we made or not? And if the answer is no, like I almost picture him like coming back in the rapture and right before he's pulled up in nav and your charts looked pretty good, by the way. I have that weirdness in my head, and you want that, right? You're part of a legacy, and we're sort of called to champion that cause, I guess, in a way.
That's great. So I'm looking at your charts. Maybe we can jump to the first um, chart, which is really very, very interesting analysis. Again, going back to that idea of having intraday data, first of all, for some of those gurus probably would blow their mind the way we have it. But can you explain, kind of your theory behind this tool and what is it trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So if we sort of tie back into what Gann was looking at, he has this idea. And back around that, I call it the first Renaissance, pre-technology, right? He
Mhm.
says time is the most important factor when you're trying to trade. Okay, lots of gurus say things that are meaningless and have no basis for acting upon them. But then he sort of gives you the Colonel's secret recipe, right? He tells you what the spices are and how many grams of cumin and whatnot. He says if you study the past records of the averages of stocks, you'll be able to prove for yourself that history repeats. And by knowing the past, you can tell the future. Well, there's an algorithm in that statement that we can replicate. And again, Ninja's the only platform that lets us do this because of the sheer force of the undergirding, right? It's powerful enough in a way that I won't even dignify the other platforms by mentioning them. They're just there giving you basic things. Here's a MACD. Here's a moving average. Floor trader pivots. My God, the horror. This program is like, hey, we're going to let you tell us the upcoming potential time movements of the MNQ 7 days into the future. And so what the program has done here, in essence, if we look down into the code, is we've told it, hey, I want you to go back last Wednesday and the Wednesday before that. And like now, one of those World War II submarine movies, right? The Hunt for Red October. I want you to scan for times. Sean Connery's there telling us, look for times over the last 2 Wednesdays where perhaps institutions or large players, BlackRock, Illuminati, whatever your worldview is, if anybody moved the market at a consistent time over those last 2 weeks, give me pong, a radar ping. Tell me if there's a time where the moves are occurring consistently. And so on the right-hand side of our chart, what you're seeing here are radar pings. That dotted white line is saying you are here, right? If it's karaoke and you're drunk and the 80s soundtracks are playing, I think we're alone now. That's the word we're singing right now. And the bouncing ball is showing you the lyrics coming up. Don't stop believing. That's what's next. And so the program is warning us essentially, not black box in the sense that it's inventing new information. It's saying, hey, last Wednesday at 11:26, there was an event. Last Wednesday at 11:34 on a 1-minute chart, there was an event. 11:52, we had a radar ping. And so you start to ask the question, well, why would I believe that? Because it seems and sounds contrarian to what we've been told by multiple gurus across generations of highly oiled, efficient marketing machines. So one of the things that it's doing that's assisting traders who are in like an apex environment trying to qualify is speak to those psychological deficiencies we come to the game with. Number one, we let our stops run too far. We let our winners not go far enough, and we overtrade.
Mhm.
So if we overtrade, number one, there's a schedule here. This is sort of a Delta Airlines schedule of departing and arriving orders. And if we want to try to slip into that slipstream and maybe catch that next push up, if they do it again, we only have 12 opportunities that morning. And if you trade 13 times, you violated a rule where overtraders tend to get into a cycle that they don't even realize they're 30, 40, 50 trades in and they've blown out their prop account. Number two, when these trades come, we have a window. So just like the movie Neo in the Matrix, everything that has a beginning has an end, Neo. Thank you, Oracle, who makes chocolate chip cookies for some reason. And so if you're long at 1027, the program is warning you, hey, this is only a 10-minute window. If, Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi went long last week, they were short at 1037, and you need to really start to allow that window to develop at first, but then tighten up your risk as you come into that contrarian moment. And the reason we trust what's coming up to the right-hand side is because of what happened at those times when we arrived at them. When we first turned the program on, I thought it was broken. I said, Ron, it's going up at the buy times and down at the sell times. It's just reading the pivots in real time. And he had to sort of shake me and say, no, we've been waiting 7 days for these moments. So it really addresses the deepest, darkest parts of our psyche that want us to go into fight or flight mode and say, I'm going to make you fail so you stop doing this crazy thing and your wife doesn't look at us crazy when we watch Netflix at night.
Right. Well, Michael,
So,
I think
yeah.
one thing that's really really genius about this is if we think about our behaviors as human beings, and more specifically as traders, and maybe it's not just our own, maybe it's the traders that are sitting at that institutional desk as well, right? And hedge funds and people involved in the market. They're human beings and they have schedules too. And when I mean schedules, I don't mean something like a schedule that we have to, they have routines, they have patterns, right? So they might get coffee at the same time of the day. They might get orders in at the same time of the day. They might have the same patterns to fill those orders, right, over time. So take that and multiply it by the number of market participants. Exactly. This is it, right? I didn't even see your screen, but that's it, right? They have a morning call, 7 o'clock. Everybody's on. They get the directions. They're looking through their email from 7:30, 7:45 to 8:30, 8:45. They're getting analysis. Now somebody gets some coffee. They take a break. They go back to their screen. Whatever it is, we don't need to know what the routine is, Michael.
No. And traders quickly find out we all have the same experience, right? It's this church where we all have the same experience. We have this feeling that someone is sitting behind us waiting for our stops to get hit, and then the trade goes immediately in our direction to the target that you laugh because you've had that experience.
I had it today, Michael.
We and then we move around with these flashlights looking for the answer. Who's doing that? Why is this happening? And we move from system to system. We performance chase from vendor to vendor, from this guy saying this thing to, I call them the Himalayan gurus. Come up into my cave and sit with me for 12 years and you will learn my secrets. Come to my mansion in West Palm Beach and eat finger sandwiches for a weekend. And we're just desperate for, well, why is this happening? Who is it? And we can turn powerful platforms like NinjaTrader loose on computers now. My God, Tom, I'm looking at a gaming computer that costs $1,800 that has 64 gig of RAM. It's a 3.7. I don't even know how many cores in it. I've lost track.
Right.
Where that poor guy in the office was looking at a 486, with 4 meg of RAM and watching the market move like this. And so that ability now, if it is institutions, if it is algorithms and proprietary black box high-speed algos, we now can harness these platforms, right? We can go to the NinjaTrader platform and say, what can you do? And their programmers never stop updating, never stop providing additional power, multi-core, multi-thread access. And then we can, like, I love the movie The Matrix, as big and as powerful as these dark players are, traders have never had as great of an opportunity to level that playing field. Now we're on the verge of AI as well, and a whole community of new users, I believe, coming into Ninja, where we can turn to a personal assistant, Joaquin Phoenix, Charlotte Johansson, and
Right.
say, hey, can you write me an algorithm for NinjaTrader that monitors such and such over X number of bars and project that forward? Working on it. Code released. Check performance. Like, I can see where this is headed. NinjaTrader is uniquely positioned for that. But on a day like today, FOMC, I'm not nervous anymore because here we are on the daily chart on the MNQ. And if we look at what was expected on May 2nd and June 3rd and July 26th and May 20th and these other dates, these were times with radar pings that NinjaTrader allowed us through the code to see something that maybe somebody didn't want us to see, or maybe somebody was unaware we could see.
Right.
So coming into here, we see this sort of double stop, double bottom. I see stop runs. You can see just before they launch these moves, somebody going, hey, you should get short right now. And 10,000 families lose their Disney vacation in the run. Kids, sorry, we got to play putt-putt golf this summer. Daddy made a big mistake.
Right. Right.
And so whether that's on a daily chart or down on a 1 minute chart, since we've been talking, look what happened at the 1126 signal. We rose up from 466.50 to a brand new high of day. And I know that window is coming to a close at 1134. So we owe a lot, our customers owe a lot to the platform, because nowhere else can we go out and say, please, can I project something on the right-hand side? Every other platform, when we approach them in curiosity to say, can we do this? Why would you want to do that?
Right. Well, it's interesting.
The NinjaTrader guys are cracking their knuckles and saying, like, I don't know, let me see. Tom, flip that switch on the algorithm there and let's see what these guys can do with it. And they've been great partners for that.
So having been in product management at other places, I get the limitations in the sense that that's how they were built. But there's no data there yet, Michael. There's no data there yet, so we can't draw it. Yep. But, I think that is a feature of NinjaTrader, is really, this is a canvas. This isn't a set grid. What is this tool called, though, Michael? I want everybody to know what this is called.
Oh, 100%. We're sci-fi geeks, and
Yes.
we believe that if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, don't do it. And back on our website, when we looked at what this was accomplishing, we sort of dovetailed it into the Marty McFly narrative.
Yep.
And so in that sense, we started out calling this Flux 15 years ago, like the flux capacitor, as our logo sort of annotates. But the more it developed, we sort of folded everything under an umbrella of tachyon. So
Okay.
in Star Trek, tachyon is a theoretical particle that can move backwards and forwards in time. And eon describes an endless amount of time. And so the program that we're talking about here today is called Tachyon Warp, like time warp. And we're in essence describing a tool that allows us to travel backwards and forwards in time endlessly to see things that we might not ordinarily uncover. So
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
that's right. And so we try to put everything under that umbrella. It unifies our community too, because, you know, Back to the Future, the movie, Star Trek, Star Wars, all of those things, it sort of points to this common dream and goal of leveraging technology to make our lives better. And when I was designing machinery that day, I was installing a piece of equipment that allowed a woman who was sewing something on piecework. She gets paid by how many widgets she makes, right, an hour. And our company made work aids that allowed her to put more widgets into the machine per hour. So she'd go from making $20,000 a year to $50,000 a year, and her employer was thrilled. And so
Right.
it's kind of neat to be part of a community and bring that sort of insight and skill to say what tools are available to make this really hard, impossible sometimes, defeating, soul crushing task easier, give people more confidence, and speak to those darker demons on their shoulder whispering, stop it, quit it, don't do this anymore. We want to offer them this glimmer of hope where they go, that's why my stops are getting hit. If I just waited 90 more seconds, look. And so it's been really cool to sort of move from the mechanical side into the electronic side and the software side, and still bring those skills and do what I think we do well and best as engineers in this community. And so we're glad to be a part of that ecosystem.
Well, Michael, we've run up against time, but it's great talking to you, and sure, sure see the passion come through in discussing your tools. Where do you live on the internet? Where can people find you?
We are at backtothefuturetrading.com. We joke when we say it because we like to use the old Yahoo misnomer, backtothefuturetrading.com to
Yeah.
the futuretrading.com. And they can go on to the website, visit, and we actually have a video demonstration where, because this is so unbelievable, right? There is no way to convince someone other than say, look, if you sign up on the website and you take a few tutorials, we'll give you the times for Wednesday and Thursday every week. We get together on Thursday after the market close, and with them now, sort of no sleeves, open hands, say what happened at those predictive times. And people come back and see the kind of results that you saw with us live here today. It opens up their minds in a way where we're not able to show indicators where the signals are maybe repainting or appearing later. Wow, I had these signals 2 days beforehand, and this is what happened 48 hours later. So if they want to find out more, we know that hurdle's pretty high. And so we've got about as transparent of a way to prove it works as we're aware of. So Back to the Future Trading, no S, Back to the Futures Trading will get you a weird looking error and maybe a scammer from some country wanting you to give you all his Bitcoin. Don't go there. Back to the Future, like the movie, trading.com.
Awesome. Michael, thanks so much. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks, and can't wait to do that. It was really my pleasure to have you on.
It's a privilege and an honor. And to everyone watching from home, we believe in you. We know you can do this. We're your biggest fans. Keep at it, keep pushing, keep doing it. You're working with the greatest tools, the greatest people, the greatest staff ever, with the greatest platform, and just keep hacking away at it. We know you're going to do it. Stay with it.
I agree 100% with everything Michael said.
All of the symbols, trading ideas, and live trading are for demonstrational purposes and are not recommendations or trading advice. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All of the information and opinions expressed by third-party guests are their own and are not necessarily those of NinjaTrader LLC. Trading futures involve substantial risk and may not be suitable for everyone, and trading futures can result in losses greater than the initial required margin. Traders should only trade futures with risk capital. Risk capital is money that you can afford to lose without jeopardizing your financial security or current lifestyle. You can find additional disclosure information on the NinjaTrader website.